A very warm welcome back to the Football Martin channel. Southampton have a quick turnaround in games this week because it is a trip to Villa Park this Saturday against a Villa side that bounced back against Brentford in midweek action on Wednesday. They beat Brentford 3-1. It was their first win in 8 games, and they'll be looking to build on that with a back-to-back victory when Southampton visit this coming Saturday. And in today's show, it's all about the build-up to Villa. I've got a Villa fan, Luke, who's just about to join me to give me the full insight into Aston Villa. What can we expect on the weekend? And it's a good opportunity for me to sit down with Luke and find a little bit more out about Villa, how they've been doing this season, who their star men have been, and what has it been like being in the Champions League for Aston Villa. Southampton's recent run of form, though, against Villa isn't great. 4 wins to 0 from their last 5 head-to-heads. I think it's a really, really tough game, this. Got to try and bounce back from the Chelsea game, as we've been debriefing here on the Football Martin channel over the last couple of days. Thank you all very much for tuning in. If you're on the run and on the move, you can now listen to this show, which is now downloadable as a podcast as well. So you can catch up with me on the move on Spotify, Apple and Amazon podcasts. I'm joined by Luke Robinson today. He is an absolute superstar when it comes to content around Aston Villa. So first and foremost, Luke, shout out up the Villa. Where can we find you?
Yeah, YouTube. So YouTube channel, we do match previews, debriefs, fan cams, pretty much everything really. So we go in depth on the opposition as well. So we've got a Southampton preview that's out now as well. So yeah, go and check it out.
Yeah, he's an absolute must follow. We met each other at the overlap at the start of the season. I was in pretty buoyant spirits when I went to that show, and how times have changed. Right, talk to me about Aston Villa. The season so far, it started really well, Luke, didn't it? You had a fantastic start to the season, Champions League football this year.
Yeah, I mean it's been a solid season. I think we've had a little bit of a blip recently, and I think that blip, has got a lot of people talking and questioning Villa, the media and etc. But I think from a Villa fan, I've had a lot of bad blips in my time as a Villa fan, and I've never had a bad blip as good as what we've been through recently. We're still 4 points or 6 points around off Champions League, which is where we're trying to compete with again. I think we started the season really well. We've signed some new players, and Emery's trying to tactically evolve us. He wants us to be a team that have got full possession, dominating games, full control. And I think at times teams are treating Villa as sort of like as if Arsenal, as if you're playing man, because they know how good we are and how good we can be. So we've been finding it a little bit difficult on transition. We've been getting caught. Some of the games that we've not played we've not got the result we wanted. We've actually played quite well in those games. We're trying to manage Champions League football as well, and we're doing pretty well in that as well. So I think we're not the finished article, and I think that's what some people don't, they don't realise, that we're trying to get to a place, and we're trying to be a team that can consistently compete in the top 4 season on, season out. And we're not going to get there straight away. So there are probably going to be little stumbles in the road, but I think we're doing pretty well. I mean, we're in and around where we need to be, really. And I think for me as a Villa fan, I just wanted European football again. I wasn't sort of saying we've got to get top 4 again, because that it's so difficult. Look at the teams that you're competing with: Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, Man
Chelsea
United.
are right in there, aren't they, this year? Chelsea have come from nowhere, haven't they?
Yeah,
no one expected Chelsea to do that, did they, this season? No one expected Maresca to go into Chelsea and do what they've done. Their second is like you say, there's so many teams in there.
Yeah, it's so difficult, and shows how good we were last year to be able to break that big 6 mold and gate crash it, really. So I think as long as we get some form of Europe and do well in the Champions League, that'll be a really good season for us.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I've enjoyed watching Villa. I watched them a bit in the Champions League at the start of the season and thought they played some really, really good football. Started the Champions League campaign by absolute storm, Luke, didn't they?
Yeah, we were top of it. I mean, That's mad, isn't it? You know, we're better than Real Madrid and Barcelona, and as a Villa fan, it's pinch yourself stuff really, because I've not really seen us win anything. I've not seen us be that team that people talk about. You know, older Villa fans have seen us lift the European Cup. It doesn't get bigger than that, and that's what some people in our fan base have seen us do, and I haven't seen us get anywhere near that. So, for us to be competing with Bayern Munich, beating Bayern Munich, teams like Juventus, you know, this is like, it doesn't get any better than this as a football fan. To see your team competing at that level, you know, hearing that anthem, and you know, I've been a football fan, you know, since I was a young kid, watching great teams like Man United in the Champions League and Barcelona, Real Madrid, Italian giants. And when you see your team with that anthem and it's playing, and, you know, it's like goosebumps every time you hear that anthem play. So, yeah, it's been brilliant to see us do well in it. And hopefully we can get into sort of like the later stages of it.
So a lot of games of football to play, isn't it? Like you say, the travelling obviously takes its toll on players. You end up playing on Sundays as well. And you've then got League Cup. You're trying to mix in with it. There's just so many games of football. How's the squad dealt with an influx of fixtures and travelling? Luke?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of had the perfect preparation last year in the Conference League. A lot of people look at that and think, oh, it's the Conference League. We actually had so many good teams in that last year. We played Ajax, who are a European giant. We played Lille, who are a really good team, smashing the Champions League this year. We had really tough away games like Legia Warsaw, Olympiacos. So we had some real big teams. We didn't have these pub teams that Chelsea are playing, like Noah FC. And
you're kind of used to that travelling now, aren't you? You're used to the travelling. It's just, I guess, it's just the intensity of some of the fixtures, I guess.
Yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, you know, Thursday, Sunday, it's so difficult. And we were really good at doing that last year. But like you say, it's that emotional sort of like pressure and exertion that sort of, it does take it out of the players. And we have had a couple of injuries as well. So, you know, you'd like to say Onana can come in, or you'd like to say Ramsey can play, but, you know, they've been out. So the squad's been a little bit stretched at times in the last couple of weeks, but most players are back now. So it's just about adapting them as we go into this December period, where in English football, it's sort of like, this is like an intense period, isn't it? So I think December's always quite important for English football teams.
Yeah, it's a tough time. Where there's just, the games come thick and fast, as we found with the midweek game. It's a really quick turnaround. We've both played on Wednesday this week. So obviously you played against Brentford. We played Chelsea. You've bounced back. Been a little bit of a sticky patch, so to speak, but a result that you would have been delighted with on Wednesday night against Brentford at Villa Park. A 3-1 victory. Ollie Watkins, he's finding form again. I see that he got the star player of the game. Talk to me about the game. How did it unravel?
Yeah, it was a really good performance. It was a performance that we've been accustomed to. Obviously not recently, because we've not been playing as well, but it was a bit of like a Villa Park blitz, what we sometimes do, where we get one, we get two, we get three. It's free flowing. You know, Kamara was great. Rodgers was brilliant driving forward. The Rodgers goal was fantastic. And they couldn't live with us for the first 30 minutes. And I think 3-0 at half time, it's a difficult scoreline, because Brentford want to come out, and if they get the next goal, which they did, it can sometimes change a bit of momentum. But we was able to sort of just see the game out. Tyrone Mings came back into the side, shored us up a little bit, got his head on absolutely everything. So it was a real pleasing performance, because our front line played well. We defended pretty well. So it's quite pleasing going into the next games.
Yeah, I did look at the statistics just before I come online with you, and it was interesting to see, though the ball possession was pretty much 50-50, the goal attempts for Villa 20 compared to the 9 of Brentford, 10 shots on goal from Villa, just the 1 on target from Brentford as well. It looked like a domination, like you said, in that final third. Talk to me about Morgan Rogers. He looks to be a really good player. He's in my dream team. Whenever I've watched him play, I think he plays well beyond his years. He's a brilliant young talent, isn't he? Give us a little bit of an idea of what his season's been like for those that have not watched Villa as closely as maybe myself and a few others have done.
He's had probably one of the biggest years I think I've ever seen from a player. The start of the year, he was playing for Middlesbrough. So if we're talking about, we're now in December, so practically 12 months later, he's played in the Premier League, he's played for England, he's played in the Champions League, and that's the journey that Rodgers has been on in the space of 2024. He's a really good player. He's athletic, he's tall, he drives with the ball, he's really powerful. He's just one of those players that can just take the game by the scruff of the neck, and that's what he did against Brentford. And yeah, I think he's got attributes that he can improve on. I think his finishing, although he scored a really good goal against Brentford, can improve. His final ball at times, but it feels like if Rodgers plays well, Villa do really, really well. And he's a really exciting player, and I think for his age, he's just going to get better and better.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him play the weekend. I've got to say, I've not seen him play live in person. I'm looking forward to seeing out Ollie Watkins as well. He's kind of made that England breakthrough now, hasn't he, Ollie Watkins? He had a brilliant season for you last season. And he's played a lot of games, hasn't he? I heard him talking on TalkSport a couple of days ago. Has he played more games than a lot of the players in the Villa squad?
Yeah, he pretty much plays every single game. So he's a pressing machine, but he's really resilient as well. Like you say, he's a player that doesn't miss games, and I think that's what you want from your players. He leads the line well, he presses really well. He's getting a lot of opportunities at the minute, but he's not really taking some of them. He took the penalty against Brentford, but yeah, he's a great player. He's sort of getting towards Gabby's Premier League record as well, so he's not too far behind that. So he can be our, leading goal scorer in the Premier League soon. So yeah,
Gabby's in a really good light at your club, Luke. When you look at Gabby, is he like? Talk to me about what the fan base feel about him. Is he like a massive hero at your club? For those that don't follow Villa as much as yourself, obviously.
Yeah, he is, because he scored a lot of goals against Birmingham City. Now, if you score goals against Birmingham City, then you are a legend, right? So, and he did score a lot of goals. I like him. I think he's harmless, especially on TalkSport. He's there to do a job. He's there to wind everyone
He's
up.
clickbait, isn't he? He's good clickbait guy. I enjoy him. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, he's funny, and he's a really good player for Villa. I wouldn't put him in the legend bracket. I think some parts of his sort of Villa career weren't the greatest, but I think if you erase that and just think about the goals and the Blues stuff, then it is a big player for Villa.
It's interesting to get your thoughts on it. So away from like Rodgers and Watkins and how good they've been, who's been the standout players for you? Who's been like the consistent bodies within the squad?
Consistent Luca Dean, very underrated left back. His defensive work has been phenomenal. Going forward, really good as well. I'd say he's probably been our most consistent player this season. Yuri Tielemans has been doing really well. Having sold Douglas Luiz, he's really stepped up in the Emery system. So Tielemans has been doing really well. Rodgers, a standout player. Our front line hasn't really been firing as much as last year. So creative-wise, Bailey's not scored a goal for quite a number of games now. So, but he's starting to sort of get a little bit better as well. Kamara's back from his long layoff, missed pretty much 6 months of last season. He's starting to sort of really drive us forward. So yeah, we're sort of like a solid team at the minute. I wouldn't say someone's sort of like player of the season. I think because we've had that bit of a blip in some games, we've not been that great. So, but I would probably say Luca Dean has been our best player this season.
John Duran started the season well, didn't he? What's happened with him? He was on the bench, I saw last night.
Yeah, so he's pretty much on the bench every week. So he started the season coming off the bench and scoring worldies every time he kicked
he scored
with his
some
left
very
foot.
good goals.
Yeah, so every time he kicked it, he scored a worldie. And he's obviously not been playing that much, so he comes off the bench. He had some chances against Brentford, and his link-up play has been good. And yeah, he's sort of, from last season, he was a bit of a troublemaker, and this season he's really knuckled down and knows his role off the bench now, and he's been playing pretty well, really. I think when you've got a top striker like Watkins and what he does for the team, so you'll see it against us when you play us on Saturdays, that Watkins is crucial to pressing the opposition. He's so relentless in his press. He never sort of has a moment where he's not switched on to it. Whereas Duran's a different type of striker. He's sort of like a striker that sometimes won't press when he should press. And for an Emery sort of team, you can't have that. So that just shows what Watkins does for the team, as opposed to just like scoring goals.
Yeah, it's great to get your thoughts on Villa. You've got so much knowledge. It's brilliant. So for any fan tuning in to this show, Luke is brilliant. Make sure you go give him a follow, guys. I'm going to link all his channel handles in below, so you can go give him a follow. If you face Southampton the weekend, Luke, win the streak for you guys obviously ended, like we said, against Brentford on Wednesday night. Go in search of back-to-back Premier League victories for the first time since September. You face bottom of the table side Southampton, my guys, and yeah, it's been tough for us. Very, very tough. You've got a very good record against us. 4 wins to 0 from your last 5 head-to-heads against Southampton. I've only lost the one time in 5 attempts against Saints. How do you see the game against Saints?
I think it'll be difficult. I think every game in the Premier League is difficult. I think you can't just look at it and go, we're playing bottom of the league, so we're going to win. I've been a bit impressed with you at times. That might shock you a little bit. I see real similarities between when you've got promoted and when we got promoted. Now, when we got promoted to the Premier League, there was games where we played well. Played well. There was bright sparks, but we'd lose. And it's the worst feeling in the world of playing well, doing things well, and losing on fine margins. Now, I watched your game against Liverpool, and I thought you played so well. But it's just those defensive errors.
Constant individual errors, constant.
Cost you. And honestly, when we were in the Premier League, that happened to us our first season all of the time. So I kind of know how you guys are probably feeling.
It's awful.
And I think... I think it's probably going to be a difficult game for you. I think
really tough for us.
You didn't have Diblin and Downs and Bellis, did you, for Chelsea? So
big misses there. Yeah, those guys.
I mean, they're pretty much 3 of your best players, aren't they? Really?
Yeah.
So with them coming back, that should be a bit of a boost. But yeah, I just think you concede a lot of goals, don't you? And if we can sort of get our sort of rhythm like we did against Brentford, then I think we'll probably win. But there's signs of you doing well at times, and you just got to cut out the mistakes, haven't you? I think, and it's probably easy to say that, but that's probably how I see it, really. And I think your manager as well, like, I quite like him. Like,
he's under some serious pressure. Serious pressure down here.
Do you think he'll go then?
I think there's a good chance that he could do. Yeah. I think the fans are losing faith pretty quickly, and the problem is when you're in a rut like we're in, we're breaking all the wrong records right now. We've had the worst start to a Premier League season. There's only one side other than us have had this bad a start, and that was Sheffield United a few years ago. We're breaking terrible records, individual errors leading to goals. I think Brentford last season, they had 10 individual errors that led to goals for the whole of the season. It was the maximum in the Premier League. Saints was already at the halfway point, and they've already had 9 individual errors leading to goals. So, the statistics speak for themselves. He's playing kamikaze football with players that are just not good enough to do it, unfortunately. And it's going to relegate us, but it's going to relegate us it's going to get embarrassing. It's going to get embarrassing. Luke, for Southampton, when you look at us, you said you've seen us, you've watched us against Liverpool. Any players for you that stand out that you think they may give Villa a little bit of a hard time at the weekend?
You know the one I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the one that everyone probably talks about. And again, similarities. Jack Grealish,
Yeah.
socks down,
Brilliant.
gliding, driving, dribbling. He's so good, isn't he? I watched
He's
you against
magnificent.
Man United when you played. I think you played him at home, didn't you?
Yeah, it was his debut. It was his debut. Yeah,
right. He was incredible in that game, and yeah, he's just a player that really catches the eye. And I've said it on my preview that, you know, if you're a football purist and you love the game, there's no better thing than seeing like an 18-year-old who's sort of just embracing it, no fear. And, you know, he's such a bright spark. And I think he's, you know, once he adds more goals and assists, etc., then he's going to be some player. But, you know, he's one that sort of catch the eye. And, yeah, he's really good. And, you know, Harwood Bellis at the back, I like him. I thought he was good for England when he came on. Downs in midfield, I think, is pretty decent. Yeah, so you've got some good players. Cameron Archer, you know, came from Villa, didn't he? You know, he's a finisher. If you give him a chance in the box, he'll probably
Luke, to get the best out of him, to get the best out of Cameron Archer, you're a Villa fan, you've seen him play. You know him better than me, and you know him better than anybody that's tuning in watching this right now. How would you get the best out of him?
Just feed him the ball in the box.
In behind. Yeah, in behind.
Yeah, in behind. He's a fox.
And we don't play to his strengths at all. We don't play to his strengths at all. I was with his cousin outside Molyneux a couple of weeks ago, and lovely guy, and he just said, you don't play to his strengths. He said, look at what Villa did when they had him. Look at what he's done through every club he's played at. And he said the same thing. You got to feed him. Get him in the box.
Yeah. He's a great finisher. He's a great finisher. Like in the box, he's got that sort of instinctive movement, and you need to find him more, I think, and that's where you'll get the best out of him.
Yeah, that's great. It's great to hear your thoughts on Cameron Archer, a lad I really like. I think he's got a fantastic future ahead of him, and I hope it's here with us at Southampton. Luke, we're coming to the end of our show, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to chat with me today. I want to get a score prediction for this one. It's something we always do. I think every show does it. Score prediction and some goal scorers would be brilliant.
Yeah, I hate doing these, to be fair. On opposition.
So do I.
You come across really arrogant, and that
no, not at all. You just got to be honest with your heart, haven't you?
Yeah, I think Villa will win. I think we'll try and move on from what we saw against Brentford. We haven't really kept many clean sheets, so that's important for Villa. But I'll go 2-0 Villa.
He's going 2-0 Villa. You got a midweek game in the Champions League, I believe, next week as well. Is it Leipzig you play in midweek? Yeah. Do you think the squad will be rotated much for the game against Southampton, or do you think it'd be very similar to what we see? Is going to be asking a lot out of his squad the next week, isn't it?
I would expect it to be the same team that played against Brentford. I think he'll go with the same. We haven't got Onana, so. He's been out, so he might be back for this game, or he might be back for Leipzig. So
Martinez played last night, didn't he? The goalkeeper, he was fit.
Yeah. So Martinez played. So yeah, I expect it to be the same team.
That's brilliant. You give us a great insight into Aston Villa. I want to wish you all the best for the rest of the season, other than obviously on Saturday at Villa Park. I'm looking forward to heading to Villa Park. I've not been since the FA Cup semi-final when Southampton played Watford many years ago. So really looking forward to taking the trip to the Midlands for this, Luke. And I never know, I might bump into you somewhere around Villa Park. Luke Robinson from Up the Villa, thank you very much for coming on, and thank you all guys for tuning in to the Football Martin channel. I'll be back with some more content over the weekend.